we don't talk about video games here very often, do we? Which is weird because, like, I don't want to say I am a gamer because, well, what is a gamer anyway? But I've been into video games, into Nintendo, since I was 8. I'm like years old now, so that's been decades. I'm older than two of my favourite franchises, Mario and Zelda, and I still remember playing the first ones of those. There was a bit of a lull between when the Wii was in its later stages and the Wii U hadn't come out yet, but by then I was massive into the DS and the upcoming 3DS. I don't think the 3DS was out then. No, yes, 3DS. I've had a roommate at one point who had a PlayStation 2 and a later roommate who had an Xbox 360. So I've played games on those consoles, so it's not as if they're alien to me. I've always come back to Nintendo. I am a fanboy. It's like the console wars were fought and, well, they got me. Mind you, none of that really matters to me. It's like, you can pick whatever you want. If you like to play a game on a certain console, you want to like certain types of games, who cares? And me, I love Nintendo. Everything about Nintendo, it's like, it nearly always delivers on two things. It's exactly the way you knew it, except now it's new and different. The power of this nostalgia that Nintendo has with it is one of the reasons, in my opinion, I think that it still is the behemoth that it was 30 years ago. They bring out these new games and everybody's like, oh, it's the new Mario! And it's the same as the old Mario, but it looks nicer, it has a new gimmick, and oh my god. Oh, that brings us to Mario Odyssey. When Mario Odyssey was first announced, we were all, you know, jaws on the floor. What's going on here? It's a brand new Mario on the Nintendo Switch because the Wii U never really had a Mario. Yes, I know, Super Mario 3D World is fun and I loved it, and it still felt lacking to me. It never really connected to me as a mainline Mario. It was like a Mario, but it wasn't Super Mario. Oh, that sounds horrible. I have to admit, this game delivers from the get-go. Its aesthetics, its sense of wonder. You get to the first location, you know, the first real kingdom, and I was wowed. I don't want to say I choked up a little bit, but it did make me feel happy as I haven't felt happy in months. And that sounds really depressing, but you know what? We'll leave that in there. It's just, you know, sometimes things don't go as well as you would like them, and then you get a game like Mario Odyssey, and it just brings you back to, you know, those good old days, you know, rose-tinted nostalgia. The story is very simple, really. It's like Princess Peach has been kidnapped. I know, big shock. But this time around, Bowser's also kidnapped this sentient tiara called Tiara, who's the little sister of a sentient cap called Cappy. Yeah, these things basically write themselves. And Cappy is the main gimmick of the game, the main mechanic. Cappy can capture certain types of enemies. Nearly every kind of enemy that is around on the map is part of your arsenal, and you'll need to do it with all of them. And oh my god, that sounded wrong. As I was saying, so many of these creatures are so brilliant that I find it very weird that some of them could have been games on their own. There's a tank-like enemy which I could have seen as like battle game that you just play against one another in online capacity, because it just plays that well. It's just, and then there's the obvious chain chomps, Goombas, all kinds of good stuffs, but mostly a lot of new unique enemies in this game. Which brings me to my point. You know how in the 3D Marios all the stages are huge and creative and you're like discovering new bits about it, and it's all a very weird cohesion, like big frozen mountains full of penguins. You slide down them and you have to make snowmen, or giant worms eating through apples in Galaxy. there is still a little bit like that here, but it feels like the stages themselves are not as important as the enemies within. It's like more, the stage is more revolving around the enemies you can capture and what you can do with that, rather than just the stage itself. This is not really a great detriment to this game. I'm not saying it's bad because of that. I'm not even saying it's bad. It's just that you might forget about the worlds because you're more focused on what you can do with the enemies that are in the worlds. Imagine in 1985 you're like, what, the little fireballs of eyes, and that's why they're enemies and called polyboos. Bugger that, I'm just going to call them fireballs. Fast forward 2017, oh my god, I can play with a polyboo! The worlds are okay, there's only one real unique one that we've never had before in a Mario-like world, and that's New Donk City. Except we've all seen New Donk City because that's the level they used as the demo in E3 and all kinds of video game conferences, and that's the one that was featured heavily in the trailer. And the beginning area, which is very Nightmare Before Christmas, but I'm not going to describe that one in too much detail because that's best experienced for yourself. For the rest, it's basically grassy world, sand world, ice world, water world, another water world, because we only have a small budget and we already paid for the water. But there's so much to do in them. Blimey, there's so much to do in this game. There's over 800 power moons to find in this game. And yes, this time around, we're not doing stars, we're doing moons. And every stage has from about 25 to, you know, 50, 60 odd. And that's before the final boss. Basically, there's only a couple you really need to do in order to get to the final fight and the final stages. But this game does one thing very well. Non-stop you'll be going like, oh, what's that over there? Oh, what's that over there? What's this door lead to? What's this guy doing? How am I supposed to find something that's sparkling way up there? How do I get on that mountain? How do I get those purple coins? It's non-stop grabbing your attention. And I think that's a very clever game design for Nintendo. Because in a day and age where everything is revolving around getting to the next level, getting, you know, just that one more grind out of your hour worth of playing. The moment you see something, you're like, I know I was supposed to chase down that boss, but there's some purple coins over there off the beaten path and I'm quite sure there's a treasure chest behind it. This is great in a way because it means that unlike certain all the 3D Marios, you don't need to, you know, do the things you really don't like until you get that one star because you can't get to the other stars yet, just in order to progress. Here you can play throughout the game, get to the boss, and in the meantime you can do whatever you want. Unfortunately, I find that sometimes most of the stages are too filled, they're too broad, they're too big, and you'll need guides. If it's not the internet, it's gonna be the internal guide system that the game provides. If you have amiibos, you can send them on quests. If you don't have amiibos, you can pay for them with, you know, gold coins that you earn inside the game. Or you can, you know, talk to the hint bird, which is a talkative, that's a pun, and it gives you a vague description of where your next power moon might be located. But then it's figuring out where it is, how to deal with that cryptic clue, and, you know, for people who are a little bit completionist, and I have a slight tinge of that when it comes to Mario games in this order, it's very frustrating. I mean, I had a friend who got the game after I did, and he beat the game like several days before I did, and I just beat the game today, which is why I'm recording today, because I didn't feel like I could get my proper opinion out before that. So there's like this little plot going on about Bowser stealing all kinds of important things for his wedding, and it's you know, you're fighting off against the mini-boss squad called the Broodals, which are these evil bunnies, and they're fun, they're good, they fit in perfectly. And aside from the Broodals, there's a couple of other bosses as well. Some fit better into Mario than others. New Donk City starts off with a boss that I find not fitting the Mario aesthetic, and that's a peculiar point to bring up about New Donk City, because New Donk City, as you know, it's all these normal sized people, and here's Mario, this 3 foot tall midget, 3 foot tall plumber from the Mushroom Kingdom, and here are all these regular sized human beings. But the boss is a robot of sorts, and he has lasers and uses dimensional portals, and I don't know what it is. You fight him with one of the tank enemies, and it's cool and all, but I felt like I was playing something more Star Fox than Mario. And I only had that at one other point in the game. It was just before the final stage with Bowser, and you get brought to this tiny little kingdom. It's called a kingdom, it's just the one stage where you fight the one boss. I'm not going to say anything else about it because friends people I know really like this boss, but personally, again, I felt like this boss didn't fit in with the rest of the Mario universe. This is just a niggle I have. But this brings me to New Donk City. New Donk City is the thing that makes Mario Odyssey unique. It's, aside from the capturing gimmick, it's the level, it's the stage that everybody will be talking about in 10 to 20 years. Everything else might get a mention, but New Donk City will be the level. I think Nintendo made a mistake making it the demo level, making it the trailer, because people were expecting it straight off the bat. People were expecting as soon as you leave the general beginning of the game, you end up in New Donk City. But New Donk City is smack dab in the middle. It's world 5 out of 8, I think. It's just out of the top of my head. And it has a huge set piece in it. You know the theme tune of the game, you know, the one that Pauline sings? That plays a huge part in it. There's a big party, musicians, and it feels like such an end game bit. It feels like a celebration of Mario. It feels like all this effort you've put into the game so far was worth it for this. But no, after this you still get 3 more kingdoms, if I'm out of the top of my head not mistaken. One is okay and fits in with Mario, that's the Seaside Kingdom. It's a nice little beach area, a little bit sunshine effect, feel. One is food themed, but it looks poor. So it's going from a high to a little bit lower with the Seaside to, you know, like I'd really rather be playing any of the other worlds at the moment. Like, it picks up a little bit with the Bowser stage, but not as much as I hoped it would. In the end, that has basically been my entire feeling about the game. I like it loads, lots, but I've seen people lauding it as the best Mario game ever, and I'm not quite sure it reaches quite that level. The capture mechanic is brilliant. It's a game on itself, and I'm not quite sure if it had been its own IP, it would have gotten as much press, but it could have done a little bit more with that. Just a little bit more. What I feel is that Mario Odyssey is like Mario Galaxy, but not as good. Aside from capturing enemies, anything that you've seen here has been done before and done better. It just looks prettier now. Is Mario Odyssey still worth buying? Obviously. Is it worth buying a Switch for? If you're just buying a Switch for Mario Odyssey, no. But luckily for you, the Switch has over 200 games! Buy now! There's only like 1 left in your local Walmart. But no, really, there's so many hours I still have to put into this game, in its post-game content, that I'm happy I bought this. I'm happy having bought a Switch for this. Mario Odyssey is a game I was anticipating, but it's not the game I was waiting for. Right, so normally just talk about TV shows and films, and this time it was a video game. If you think I should shut my big fat gob, there's like a comment box down below. Just type all the angry things. Subscribe to my channel, because next time I'll talk about nerdy things, you'll see my big fat face. This is the first time I'm talking about a video game in a vlog, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to put game footage in there, and I'm going to voice over, because I think it needs it a little bit more than a film. Follow me on my social medias: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Goodreads, Tumblr. Hello. Hello?
Hello. Is it me you're looking for?